Hello friends, welcome back to this online lecture series on earthquake resistant design of structures. Right? In the previous lectures, we have been discussing regarding the several codal provisions that is laid under the IS 1893-2016, that is the criteria for earthquake resistant design of structures. And in the previous lectures, we have discussed regarding the various types of irregularity, that is the plan irregularity as well as the vertical irregularity. And in this discussion, we have seen that the code is discussing 5 types of plan irregularity and 7 types of vertical irregularity. So, we are continuing this series today, wherein we'll further discuss the different other clauses that are mentioned in IS 1893 related to the calculation of lateral load and the distribution of lateral loads along the height of the building. So, let us start today's discussion, where our focus will be on the different aspects of lateral load calculation and what are the parameters or the seismic parameters that we need to consider for the seismic design of structures. So, first of all, let us talk about the lateral force calculation. So, the IS code 1893, that is IS 1893-2016, is saying that building shall be designed for a lateral force VB, which is also known as the base shear, that is VB is equal to AH into W. Now, we are all very much familiar with this equation that we have seen already in the static analysis method class, right? So, that is going to be from the basics of the lateral load calculation, whether you are doing with respect to the dynamic response method or you are doing with the static analysis method. So, the calculation of base shear is given by VB is equal to AH into W, right? Where VB is the base shear, AH is the horizontal acceleration spectrum, and at the same time W is the seismic weight of the structure, right? So, if we look at the details of horizontal acceleration spectrum, then we can say that AH is equal to ZISA by 2RG, where we know that Z is the zone factor, I is the impedance factor, R is the response reduction factor, and SA by G is the design response spectrum, right? Now, we know that in case of zone factor, we have seen that it depending upon the location of the structure, whether it is located upon zone 2, zone 3, zone 4 or zone 5, the value is going to be in the range of 0.10 to 0.36. That is, if it is in the zone 2, then the value is going to be 0.10, and if it is in zone 5, then the value is going to be 0.36, right? So, that we have already seen in the previous lecture. In today's lecture, our focus will be on the remaining terms, that is the how to consider the value of impedance factor, that is I, which are the factors which will help us decide this value of impedance factor I, and at the same time we also look at the response reduction factor that is given by R. For SA by G, again we have already discussed in the previous lectures that SA by G is the horizontal, is the vertical, is the design spectrum coefficient, which is going to be dependent upon the soil profile, then the soil structure interaction, also on the peak ground acceleration and the time period value, right? So, type of soil, whether it is soft soil, medium soil or hard soil, and at the same time the value of time period is going to help us decide the value of SA by G, as we have seen in the earlier lectures. And again we saw that depending upon the type of method also, whether you are going to select static analysis method or dynamic analysis method, based on that the values are given different for both the cases, right? So, next, that is now this value of VB is equal to AH into W is going to be basically going to give you an indication about the amount of earthquake that is going to be applied to this structure. So, what the Indian Standard IS 1893 is telling that irrespective of the design lateral forces that you are going to calculate based on the value of VB is equal to AH into W, there is a minimum criteria for which the structure should be designed with respect to their location. That is, for example, if a building is located in zone 2, then any building which is going to be located in zone 2 should have a minimum lateral force resisting capacity, which is going to be as per the table that is mentioned over here. That is, for example, if I talk about zone 2, then the code is telling that minimum 0.7% of the earthquake has to be applied for any building that is to be located in zone 2. So, that is basically it is expected whether you are doing the earthquake calculation or not, but you should have the lateral force resisting system, which is going to be an integral part of the structure whichever you are going to design or construct, and the capacity of this lateral resisting force system should be such that it should be able to resist at least 0.7% of the earthquake force. Similarly, for zone 3 it is telling that the value is 1.1, for zone 4 the value is 1.6, and for zone 5 the value is 2.4. So, we know that zone 5 is going to be high seismic prone zone, so there the minimum criteria is 2.5%. So, any building which is going to be constructed in zone 5, whether it is designed for earthquake or not designed, but the lateral force resisting system that is integral part of that particular structure should have the capacity to at least resist the earthquake of 2.5% on, right? So, next we come to the importance factor, that is I, that we have seen that AH is equal to ZISA by 2RG, because if we are able to calculate AH, then we will be able to calculate VB from it. So, and when we talk about AH, then AH is dependent upon zone factor, importance factor, response reduction factor, and at the same time of SA. So, importance factor is basically going to be dependent upon the functionality of the building, whether the building is a school building, whether it is a public building, whether it is a private building, that is whether it is a residential property, commercial property, whether the property is linked to the overall economics of the country, for example, nuclear power plant or something of that sort, right? So depending upon that, you need to select the importance factor, right? So if I look at the codal provisions, then IS 1893 is basically providing us with three categories, where the first category, it is talking about the special structures, the structures which are directly related to the economy of the country, that is nuclear power plants, dams, bridges. These are a special type of structures, silos, chimneys, right, wherein the lifeline of the country or the lifeline of the state or a city is going to be dependent, right? Because what is going to happen is that in case of industries, we have seen that whenever the failure is going to be there, then as a result of that, the impact is going to be huge, because due to the failure, if there is a breakage in the industry, then as a result of that, the production is going to be impacted, and the production is impacted, then as a result of that, the amount of loss will be much higher. So all these structures will be considered as special structures. Same thing happens in case of hospitals also, in case of school buildings also, colleges also, then any other public institutions also, and also the religious institutions also. These all structures are listed under the special cases structure, right? So in that all the cases, the code is telling that the minimum value of importance factor should be considered as 1.5. Then the second category is talking about the commercial use and the residential use, where more than 200 occupants are staying in that particular building. That is, for example, there is a commercial premise where the number of persons who are going to use that particular facility is going to be more than 200 at a time. Then as a result of that, the code is suggesting that minimum value of importance factor has to be taken as 1.2. And lastly, the third category, that is for all other types of building, that is the general buildings, the importance factor value should be taken as 1, right? So basically code is suggesting three values, that is 1.5, 1.2 and 1. Now again, at the same time, if you look at that, so a couple of notes or special notes are also mentioned below the table. Now what is being said in these notes? The note is telling that this is just a guideline that we are going to give you, but as a structure engineer or as a client, it is going to be your choice if you are going to take a value higher than 1.5 also, then it is okay, right? Because if you want that your structure should be able to resist earthquake for a large amount of time, or even for the worst amount of cases, and if the economics is permitting you, and if you are capable of spending that amount of money, then in that case, the code is telling that if you take a value of higher than 1.5 also, then this is also okay. Then the second thing is that if the case is such that the facility is a mixed property, where you have a commercial property also and your residential also, that is the first floor, we have seen this type of projects, right, there where the first two floors are for commercial purpose and the remaining floors are for residential purpose. So there also again it is telling that, for if one case is telling that the category of importance factor suggested by code is 1, and for the other category the factor suggested by code is 1.2, right? So the code is telling that out of these the higher value should be selected as the base value, that is 1 and 1.2, the higher value is going to be 1.2. So code is telling that you should take a minimum value of 1.2 in that particular type of case, right? And third thing is that the minimum guidelines that is provided here should be followed. However, the choice of the designer shall be such that he will be able to decide best that as a designer, what is the functionality of the building, what is the utility of this building, and how important this building is to the client and the end user, right? So based on his calculation and his discussion with the client and the type of building, he'll be able to select the value from this table that is given over here with due justification. Next, we talk about the response reduction factor. Now, response reduction factor is something that is associated to the structural system, and based on the structural system, you will be able to select this value of response reduction factor from the table that is given over here, right? So, if I broadly look at the categories that are mentioned over here, then these values are corresponding to 5% damping that we are going to consider in the structure, because for RSC structures, the code is suggesting that the value of damping ratio should be considered as 5%. Right, so when you are taking a value of 5% as damping ratio, then the response reduction factor value should be taken as mentioned over here in the table. Now, broadly 5 categories are mentioned, where the first category is the moment frame system, second is the braced frame system, third is the structural wall system, fourth is the dual system, and last is the flat slab system. Right. So in case of moment frame system, then the dual system, or the brace frame system or structural wall system. In all these categories, 3 or 4 different cases are discussed. For example, whether the frame is an ordinary moment resisting frame or a special moment resisting frame, whether the braces are concentric in nature or eccentric in nature, whether the braces are designed as per the special moment resisting frame or guidelines or the ordinary moment resisting frame guidelines, right? Whether the dual system, in case of dual system, whether all the force is going to be evenly distributed based on the lateral stiffness or only the moment resisting frame is going to carry 25% of the load. So based on these different assumptions that you are going to have as a designer, you have to select these values over here. However, you can see that the minimum value is r equal to 3 and the maximum value is r equal to 5, right? And if I take up some specific examples, then in that case, in case of the dual system, it is said that where the special moment resisting frame columns are also there and at the same time structural walls are also there, then you can take a value of r equal to 4 or r equal to 4.5 also. And if it structure is such that only moment resisting frame is there, then in that case the value of r equal to 5 should be taken for the consideration, right? So these are all going to be directly related to the value of AH, and AH is related to VB, right? Because VB is directly proportional to AH and AH is directly proportional to ZI and SI by G, and R is going to be inversely proportional, right? So if the value of R is going to be more, then the value of AH is going to be less. If the value of R is going to be less, then value of AH is going to be more, right? And if value of AH is going to be more, then at the same time the value of base shear, that is VB, is also going to be more, right? So this is how all these three parameters are very strongly connected to each other in estimating the earthquake forces that are likely to act on the structure, right? Next component is the consideration for the imposed load consideration. Why this imposed load is important? Because in case of seismic weight, the calculation will be such that it will be the full dead load plus percentage of imposed load as mentioned by IS 1893, right? So what is the IS 1893 telling about this calculation of imposed load? So the IS 1893 is telling that if your value of live load is less than or equal to 3, then 25% should be considered as the component of imposed load. However, if the value of live load is greater than 3, then in that case 50% consideration should be taken for the imposed load. That is, when you calculate the imposed load or the seismic weight of the structure, then in that case the factor in case of imposed load or live load should be 0.25 or 0.5. If the value is less than or equal to 3 of the live load, then value factor that is going to be there is going to be 0.25, and if the value of live load is greater than 3, then the factor is going to be 0.5. And at the same time it is telling that the imposed load for calculation of seismic weight, the imposed load on the roof has not to be considered, right? However, if any equipments are present at irrespective of the floor and their location, then the weight of this equipment should be considered for the calculation of seismic weight, right? So that is also an important clause that has to be kept in mind. That is, the imposed load on roof is not to be considered as part of the seismic weight. However, the weight due to equipment and any other permanent fixtures that are going to be there has to be considered as part of imposed load, and its effect will be there in the calculation of seismic weight, that is W, that is VB is equal to AH into W. So that is why this component is very going to be important. Then we next come to the seismic weight. So when I talk about seismic weight is basically indicated by W, that is VB is equal to AH into W, where W is the seismic weight. So how to calculate this W? Then W is basically given by W is equal to dead load plus percentage of imposed load. Now how to decide percentage of imposed load? So that we have seen in the previous slide, where the code is telling that if the value of live load applied on the floor is less than or equal to 3, then the value of this percentage of imposed load will be 0.25 live load, and if it is greater than 3, then the value will be 0.5 live load. So you will have two cases. Either you will have the value of W is equal to dead load plus 0.25 LL, or you will have the value of W is equal to dead load plus 0.5 LL, depending upon the amount or intensity of live load that you are going to apply on the floor. So that thing has to be very clearly understood. And at the same time, it is telling that whatever load you are calculating has to be evenly distributed between the columns below the ground or below the floor under consideration and above the floor under consideration. So that has to be also kept in mind specifically during this calculation when you are going to do the calculation of seismic weight. Lastly, before we conclude today's lecture, we look at the value of time period also, because in case of SI by G, we have seen that it is dependent on the time period. So how to calculate the time period? So IS code 1893, that is telling IS code 1893 2016 is discussing couple of cases based on which you need to calculate or decide the value of time period. So for example, it is giving you three cases. where bare moment resisting frame is there, then structural system, that is the structural walls are present, and third is for all other buildings. So if I talk about the first category, then in case of first category, it is telling that the value should be considered as 0.075 h raised to 0.75, where h is the height of the building. Right? Now, this 0.075 value is for RCC building. If it is a composite building, then the value will be 0.08. If it is for steel building, then the value is going to be 0.085. Right? And if the building is such that dual system is adopted or a structural wall system is adopted, then in that case the formula that is mentioned in the second clause has to be taken, and based on that the length of the wall has to be calculated, and accordingly the value of time period has to be calculated considering length of wall, area of wall, and the height of the building. And lastly, the third category is for general buildings where the value is 0.09 h under root of d, which is where h is the height of the building and d is the lateral dimension, maximum lateral dimension of the building in the direction in which the earthquake is being considered. That is, if you are going to calculate the time period in x direction, then the maximum dimension available of the building in x direction should be considered. If you are considering in y direction, then in that case the maximum lateral dimension available in y direction has to be considered. Right? So that is how the formulas are suggested for IS 1893-2016 for the calculation of time period. Now we have seen that all these three formulas are indicating that time period is going to be a function of height and the lateral dimension. So sometimes the system or the configuration or the plan of the building is such that it becomes little bit confusing for us to understand how to select the correct value, right? And for selection of these particular values, the code is giving such some schematic sketches based on which we will be able to decide, right? So if you look at the first sketch, then it is showing that it is a simple building. Then in that case, from the base of the footing to the top of the building, the value of h, that is height of the building, should be considered. And whatever the frontage of the building is to be there, that has to be considered as the dimension d, that is the lateral dimension of the building. However, h is going to be changing where when you are going to have basement, and in that case if the basement slab is connected to the retaining wall of the structure that you are going to provide in the basement, then in that case the code is telling that the height of the building h for the calculation of time period should be considered from the above ground only. That is going to happen when your basement slab is connected to these retaining walls that are provided in the basement. If they are not connected, then you have to consider the first case where full height of the building has to be considered. But if they are connected, then in that case you have to consider the height only from the portion above. Sometimes the other case is there where the dimension of the basement is larger as compared to that of the actual dimension of the building. So in that case again the problem comes is how to select this value. So again code is telling that you have to consider the base dimension which is going to be above the ground only, and you have to neglect the dimension of the basement which is going to be in larger direction in the structure which is going to be below the ground. Similarly, other case is there where vertical offset is there in the building. So again there also how to calculate h and d, that is also shown over the figure. And lastly the figure is shown where the building is located on the slopy ground. There also how to calculate or how to consider d, and the height h should be considered only for the portion from the topmost portion of the ground, and that is also indicated by this particular figure over here. So these are 5 schematic figures which will help us decide or how to consider the value of h and d for different type of plan configurations that are going to be there, or different type of elevation configurations that are there. I hope you have understood the considerations that the code is proposing for the importance factor, that is response reduction factor, and at the same time the calculation of time period. And lastly, based on these 3 factors, we will be able to calculate the value of AH, and once the value of AH is calculated, then we will be able to calculate the value of VB, that is the base shear. Right? So I hope you have enjoyed today's lecture. Stay tuned for the further lecture series. We will be discussing further regarding the static analysis method and the dynamic analysis method and the formulas that are necessary for that calculation